September 2024, a routine testimony before the Senate Armed Services Committee. And then, four words that changed everything. The B-2's adaptive mission colonel. Four words, spoken almost casually by a DoD official. Four words that were never supposed to leave a classified briefing room. Four words that just revealed the most closely guarded secret of America's $2.2 billion flying fortress. For 30 years, the world thought they knew what made the B-2 Spirit untouchable. They were wrong. This is the story of what happens when your ultimate deterrent stops being a secret. To understand what was just exposed, we need to go back. 1979. The Cold War is at its frozen peak. The Soviet Union has just invaded Afghanistan, and deep inside the Pentagon, a terrifying question keeps military planners awake at night. How do you strike a target when getting there means flying through the most sophisticated air defense network ever built? The Soviet Union had spent decades building an air defense shield that was, by every measure, impenetrable. Over 10,000 surface-to-air missile sites, overlapping radar coverage, MiG interceptors on constant alert. The F-117 Nighthawk proved stealth could work, but it was small, limited payload, short range. What America needed was a strategic bomber that could disappear. November 22, 1988, Palmdale, California. The world got its first look at the B-2 Spirit. With its flying wing design, radar-absorbent skin, and $737 million price tag per aircraft, it was the most expensive military project in history. The public story was simple: low observable technology, radar cross-section smaller than a bird, the ability to penetrate enemy airspace undetected. But that was just the story they wanted you to believe. Here's what the world knew about the B-2. Radar-absorbing materials, carefully designed angles to deflect radio waves, heat-masking engine exhausts. Stealth 101. But every major power, Russia, China, even France, started working on counter-stealth technology almost immediately. By the 2000s, the game had changed. Low-frequency radars, passive detection systems, quantum radar prototypes in Chinese labs. The B-2 stealth profile, as impressive as it was, had a shelf life, and the Air Force knew it. So they built something else, something they never advertised, something that didn't appear in any public technical manual or congressional testimony. The Adaptive Mission Kernel, AMK for short. At its core, the AMK is an AI-driven electronic warfare suite so sophisticated it doesn't just hide the B-2 from radar. It actively manipulates the electromagnetic battlefield in real time. Think of it this way. Traditional stealth is like wearing camouflage. You're trying not to be seen. The AMK is different. It sees the enemy's radar frequencies, analyzes their patterns, and then creates ghosts, false targets, phantom aircraft, entire bomber formations that don't exist. The system can generate dozens of false radar returns, each one behaving exactly like a real aircraft. Enemy air defenses don't just fail to see the B-2, they see everything except the B-2. But it gets better, or worse, depending on whose side you're on. The AMK doesn't just create deception, it listens. Every radar ping, every communication between SAM sites, every fighter jet data link. It intercepts, analyzes, and learns the enemy's entire air defense network in real time. And then it exploits it. Imagine you're a Russian air defense commander. Your screens light up with contacts, dozens of them. You scramble fighters, launch missiles at the highest priority targets. And while you're focused on the ghosts, the real B-2 is already over the target. This wasn't just an upgrade, this was a paradigm shift. The B-2 wasn't just a stealth bomber anymore. It was an invisible puppet master, controlling the battlefield from the shadows. And for 20 years, this capability remained one of the most tightly held secrets in the U.S. military arsenal. Special access program, need to know only. Even most B-2 pilots didn't fully understand what they were flying with until September 2024. The revelation hit the intelligence community like a shockwave. Within 48 hours of that Senate testimony, analysts at the Russian Aerospace Defense Forces headquarters in Moscow We're reviewing every recorded B-2 flight path from the last 2 decades. In Beijing, the People's Liberation Army Strategic Support Force, China's Cyber and Electronic Warfare Command, convened an emergency session. The strategic calculus had just changed. Because if the AMK was raw, and the technical details that leaked out suggested it absolutely was, then every assumption about air defense had just become obsolete. Consider the implications. 20 B-2 Spirits, that's the entire operational fleet. But with the AMK, those 20 bombers could create the radar signature of 200, each one capable of generating false contacts, intercepting communications, and ghosting through air defenses that cost billions to build. Russia's S-400 and S-500 systems, their crown jewels of air defense, had been designed specifically to counter stealth aircraft, but they were designed to track and destroy real targets. How do you shoot down something that isn't there? How do you prioritize threats when you can't tell which ones are real? China faced an even worse problem. Their entire anti-access/area denial strategy, the A2AD network designed to keep American forces out of the South China Sea, relied on overwhelming sensor coverage. But if those sensors could be deceived at will, the Taiwan scenario, which had become increasingly tense, suddenly shifted. Any Chinese invasion plan assumed they could establish air superiority through sheer numbers and sophisticated air defenses. But what if 20 B-2s could appear as 200? What if their entire air defense network could be turned into a weapon against itself? Within weeks, both nations had publicly announced accelerated programs in AI-driven counter-stealth detection. Quantum radar development accelerated. New protocols for air defense networks emerged. But here's the real problem they faced. The AMK wasn't just a technological capability. It was a first-mover advantage that had been refined for over 20 years. Catching up wouldn't take months. It would take decades. And every day that gap existed, the strategic balance remained tilted. Because deterrence isn't just about having a weapon, it's about your adversary believing you can use it successfully. And now, they knew. Let's walk through what this means in practical terms. Imagine it's 2027. A crisis has erupted. Diplomatic solutions have failed. And the order is given. Strategic strike. 4 B-2 Spirits take off from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. Their target? Hardened command bunkers 6,000 miles away. Deep inside heavily defended territory. The mission used to be straightforward. Rely on stealth, fly the profile, deliver the payload. But now the adversary knows about the AMK. They know ghosts are coming, so they adapt. New protocols. Don't just track contacts. Verify them through multiple independent systems. Cross-reference with satellites. Use infrared detection. Look for the things that can't be faked. Heat signatures, atmospheric disturbances, even gravitational anomalies. But here's where it gets interesting. Because the AMK isn't static, it's adaptive. The AI learns their countermeasures in real time. They switch to low-frequency radar. The AMK adjusts its deception pattern to match those wavelengths. They implement a mission control to prevent intercepts. The system generates signals that force them to break radio silence. They try to verify targets with infrared. The B-2's heat signature, masking already formidable, gets dynamically optimized. It becomes a real-time chess match at the electronic warfare speeds. Move and counter-move happening in microseconds. And the terrible truth for the defender is this: they're playing defense. The B-2 only needs to succeed once. Missiles launch, fighters scramble. The sky lights up with defensive fire, but they're shooting at phantoms. The targeting data is corrupted, the priorities are wrong, and by the time they realize what's real and what isn't, the mission is already complete. But here's the nightmare that keeps Pentagon planners up at night. What happens when this technology proliferates? What happens when China or Russia develops their own version? Because that's the real danger of exposure. Once you know something is possible, reverse engineering comes infinitely easier. The AMK took 20 years to develop in complete secrecy. China could have a working prototype in 5. And when both sides have it, when every advanced military can generate phantom fleets and manipulate the electromagnetic spectrum, The battlefield becomes chaos. How do you maintain deterrence when no one can trust their sensors anymore? The exposure of the AMK marks a turning point, not just for the B-2 program, but for the entire concept of strategic deterrence. During the Cold War, deterrence was simple: mutually assured destruction. You attack us, we destroy you. The weapons were visible. The capabilities were known. The calculus was brutal but clear. But in the age of stealth, cyber warfare, and AI-driven systems, deterrence becomes ambiguous. How do you deter an adversary when they can't see your capabilities? And paradoxically, how do you deter them when your capabilities are exposed but still overwhelming? The Pentagon is already adapting. Within months of the leak, new classification protocols were implemented. Next-generation capabilities are being compartmentalized even more tightly, and development has accelerated on what insiders are calling AMK2, capabilities that make the current system look primitive. The B-21 Raider, the B-2's successor, is already in production. And while the Air Force won't confirm it, every indication suggests it's being built from the ground up, with lessons learned from the AMK exposure. More adaptive, more autonomous, more capable of operating in a contested environment where the adversary knows you're using electronic deception. But there's a strategic dimension too. Some analysts argue the leak wasn't entirely accidental. That revealing the AMK served a purpose, demonstrating to potential adversaries that the technological gap is wider than they thought. That even if they know about a capability, they still can't counter it. It's a dangerous game because it accelerates the arms race. China has already announced a $40 billion investment in cognitive electronic warfare systems. Russia is pouring resources into AI-driven air defense. The race isn't just about stealth anymore. It's about who can outthink and outadapt whom in microseconds. We're entering an era where the electromagnetic spectrum becomes the primary battlefield, where AI systems wage warfare at speeds humans can't perceive, where the line between reality and deception blurs entirely. And at the center of it all, the B-2 Spirit, no longer the invisible ghost it once was, but still the most capable strategic bomber ever built. Its secret exposed, its mystique diminished, but its mission unchanged: to deliver overwhelming force anywhere in the world, regardless of what stands in the way. 20 B-2 Spirits. That's all there are. 20 aircraft that cost more than their weight in gold. 20 platforms carrying a secret that's no longer secret. And yet, the mission continues. Because the exposure of the AMK didn't eliminate the advantage. It changed it. Now potential adversaries know what's coming. They know the B-2 can create ghosts. They know it can manipulate their defenses. They know it can turn their own systems against them. And that knowledge, Val, that might be the most powerful deterrent of all, because it's one thing to suspect your air defenses might fail. It's another thing entirely to know they will. To know that no matter how much you spend, how sophisticated your systems become, there's a platform out there that can defeat them. The paradox of modern deterrence: sometimes the most effective weapon is the one your enemy knows about but still can't stop. The B-2's ultimate secret is out. But the question isn't whether it remains effective. The question is, what other secrets are still hidden? What other capabilities exist in the shadows, waiting for the day they're needed? Because in the end, that's the real lesson of the AMK revelation. We only learned about it because someone made a mistake. How many other mistakes haven't been made yet? The B-2 Spirit, still flying, still lethal, still watching. And now, everyone knows why. Sleep well.